Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome back to another weather forecast discussion for February 20th, 2022. Now, I'm not sure about you all, but so far, these first 20 days of February have gone by really quickly for me. So, my give it to me straight question of the day, which is in the beginning of the video for once, is how fast has these 20 days gone by for you all so far? Has it gone by fast? Has it gone by slowly? Have you had a good month so far? Let me know down in the comments down below. And if I find the most interesting answer, I'll pin it. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. And let's get started with our weather forecast, which does contain the threat for tornadoes, heavy snow, and significant ice in some spots. So let's just go ahead and get with the models here. The NAM 3 kilometer, the NAM 12 kilometer. We're also going to be using the Euro model interchangeably with all this and the WRAP model. So let's go ahead with the NAM 12 kilometer just to get a general idea as to what all is happening across North America. This is the simulated radar, and of course the date and time is above me in Eastern. Let's play it out here. You see we have a little bit of a snowstorm moving through Ontario and Quebec. We also have some flow that's coming off into the northwestern portions of the United States, into the British Columbia general vicinity. A lot of winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings are out into those general areas, so please be cautious if you guys could be. And then this is when things start to really become interesting, because this is when things start to become a lot more widespread. You can see a lot of snow starts to become evident over here towards portions of the northern United States in towards the Great Lakes as well as into Ontario. But on the other hand, we're also going to get the threat for severe weather to exist over into portions of the southern United States. And let's just zoom in here with the North American model. You can see how things kind of start to form here from the afternoon hours of Monday into the overnight hours on into Tuesday. You can see a lot of showers and thunderstorms start to form over here towards portions south of Childress near the Abilene areas, all the way through towards the Red River, maybe even a little bit south of Oklahoma City, maybe at Oklahoma City. These thunderstorms are relatively widespread, and this is the conditional tornado risk here. If I were to be chasing here for the most part, I would be north of Dallas, Fort Worth, probably on I-35 within that general area is where I would probably chase. And that is expected to continue to move on through, maybe even gust out a little bit further before a new band of showers and thunderstorms form on the rear side of that. And that'll eventually push on through further and further into the Ozarks. You can see how widespread these showers and thunderstorms actually are within this general vicinity. And because of how expansive these thunderstorms actually are, the Storm Prediction Center has issued an interesting day 2 categorical outlook with a 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale indicated in this dark green and a 2 out of 5 indicated in this yellow, which is a slight risk. So wherever you guys live, whether it's in the dark green or in the yellow, you guys need to watch out for the potential of some severe weather to exist throughout your area from Monday into early Tuesday morning. And you can see how this plays out here. You can see how those thunderstorms overnight are going to continue to push on through and towards the Arkansas general vicinity and Missouri, as well as into portions of the Mississippi, Ohio River Delta areas. And then after that, this is where another band of severe weather could exist for portions of the deep south. All right, this is the afternoon into the evening hours. It doesn't look like much. All right, I know. Okay, these areas could be severe weather, but what I am more concerned about is areas over here in the central to northern Mississippi. All right, this open warm sector could be the threat for some renegade supercells that could move on through and be tornadic. So we definitely need to watch out for that. It doesn't say here on the North American model, or at least the 3 kilometer version, but the 3 kilometer version isn't really all too good with picking up as to where some renegades could potentially be. So we're probably going to have to wait for the HRRR to come out and see what actually that says. But the one thing I will say, okay, I do have the potential for being live tomorrow night. All right, it's going to be a little bit tight because I do have work, and so I don't know how late I'm going to be able to get in. I don't know what time of the event I'm going to be like coming in and just live streaming or whatnot. But if I do live stream, please be sure to stay tuned. If not, I will upload a video tomorrow night informing everyone as to what's going on. Matt is chasing tomorrow, so we could try and just live stream just to see what Matt gets. But we do have the threat for tornadoes that could exist tomorrow. So that's the thing. And then on Tuesday, we could live stream as well if those renegade supercells do uptick. And speaking of the threat for severe weather, here it is. There's your day 3 convective outlook that was issued for Tuesday. You can see the 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale here towards the dark green, and then the 2 out of 5 in the yellow. Notice how this is right over the areas that I was talking about. The Storm Prediction Center is also concerned for the potential of some renegade supercells to form out in front of that little line that we were talking about. So this is just definitely something to watch out for. Of course, I'll update you guys further and further as we get closer and closer to this event. But if things do plan out into fruition, we could potentially see a tornadic event in northern to central Mississippi. So how does this all happen? How do you make a severe weather event? Well, you need a bunch of different factors here that are naturally occurring in this instance, because we do have a lot of these low pressure systems that just kind of come along the western coast of the United States, and they kind of just eject through the central portions of the United States, all right? And the reason why that is because we have a bit of a high pressure here, a bit of a ridge that is over into portions of the Gulf of Mexico. This is creating a lot of clockwise flow, and so the low pressure system is kind of getting steered off towards the north and east instead of it continuing to move off across the southern portions of the United States. So this is not a viable option. Only this is, and you're going to see how with the 500 millibar wind shear, which is about 6 kilometers above ground level, you can see how that actually is the case and how it turns off in towards the central portion of the United States, creating some heavy amounts of wind shear across areas that could potentially be impacted, especially for up here towards the Great Lakes, Ontario, and Quebec. Could be a snow event with some freezing rain across those general areas. And if we transition over here to the 850 millibar wind shear, which is our low level jet or our wind shear 1 kilometer above ground level, you can see that we're starting to get a lot of strong southerly flow here from this low pressure system. You can see how it moves counterclockwise just like this, and this flow from the south is picking up a lot of moisture here in the Gulf of Mexico, which is bringing it up to create our severe weather event. And we do have a very strong low level jet here too. You can see wind shear amounts are in upwards of 60 to 65 knots, even intensifies a little bit further as it moves off towards the north and east, creating some snow for the north and east as well. And the other thing here too is that you can also see, because of this counterclockwise flow, notice the wind shear on the backside here. We have a lot of cold air that's up here in the portions of Canada. This is going to press a lot of the cold air down further and further, creating a bit of an Arctic invasion towards much of the United States, and that is expected to be the repetitive pattern for the most part as we continue to push on through towards the end of the week. So to emphasize that rise of moisture here, you can take a look and see from Sunday into Monday that moisture starts to return towards areas to where there could potentially be severe weather. And look at this, across the board we have a lot of these yellows indicating some moisture that is relatively high enough to sustain severe weather, 60-degree dew points and above within that general vicinity. But then on the other hand, you can also see how dry air is coming in behind that. This is the cold, dry air that is going to be coming in behind that low pressure system that's spinning counterclockwise. So you have moisture that's coming up out in front, you have cold air that's coming in behind it. This is a bit of a double whammy system that's going to be progressing on through that'll create two different types of weather that could be impactful. Now, one thing that us weather analysts really love to use or really love to see right before an event to try and determine as to what could potentially happen is something called CAPE, which is convective available potential energy, and hodographs, which basically take a look at your wind veering with height. So our different levels of the atmosphere takes a look at to what it could potentially look like. And what we have here is both that. So the shades in red, that is your CAPE numbers, which is designated at the bottom part of your screen. And then these little squiggly lines that look like they're kind of arcing and doing all sorts of funny dances, that is your hodograph here. Now, the reason why we want to look at the hodograph is because if you take a look at the image on the top right-hand corner, that is a picture of a supercell. And you notice how a supercell kind of arcs like this, kind of like a hook. And that looks very similar to these little hodographs down here. So if we have something that looks very similar to that picture, then we can determine as to whether or not an environment is tornadic. And we do have a lot of that. Even if it's not a full little hook, it is a little bit of a curl in the atmosphere that could determine that there is potential for some severe weather that could potentially have a tornadic threat within it. So something to really keep in mind here as this moves on through, that the wind shear is good enough for there to be tornadoes. On the other hand, you can see the different layers of red. Once again, that is CAPE, our convective available potential energy. That is the displacement between warm air rising and cold air sinking. The displacement between the two indicates how much energy you have. So the more energy, the more instances for thunderstorms to either form or sustain. And if you have more and more of it, they could potentially even be stronger and stronger. So you can see here that we do have some convective available potential energy over here towards the portions of the Dallas-Fort Worth area that is expected to continue to rise further and further towards the north. And that general area right there, right along the Red River, is where I would watch out for the potential of something to be tornadic, especially from Monday night into Tuesday, to where that tornado risk could potentially exist. And then, of course, as we transition here from Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon, this is the reason why I'm kind of concerned about the potential of a tornado risk somewhere down here. You see how the convective available potential energy numbers are a little bit higher than it is further off towards the north. If we can get a little bit more CAPE within this area, you could potentially see a tornado risk that could exist within this general vicinity. Maybe sometime from the early afternoon or to the late afternoon hours, and maybe even into the evening hours. So it's just something we're going to have to watch out for as to whether or not those models actually pick up some sort of convergence within those areas. But regardless, still something to keep in mind about. Now, on the other hand, here with our snow, you can see we have quite a large swath here of where the snow could potentially exist, as well as up here towards portions of the Sierras and the Northwest. And so this is expected to continue to move on through and be our first batch of snow with some sleet and freezing rain here in some of these salmons and purples and pinks. There is expected to be some freezing rain with that component, so definitely something to watch out for. And then eventually we're going to have our new system that's going to come on through even behind this and create another batch of winter and severe weather that'll move on through from Wednesday into Thursday. But before we head off into that, let's see our snow totals from this singular event. And you can see here, it's not really like a significant amount, unless if you're over here in the portions of Ontario and Quebec, of course. You know, areas in Quebec typically get about, 18 to 24 inches of snow anyways whenever they get a storm that moves on through. But, across the board, I'd say the areas to watch here would be north of the Twin Cities area towards Duluth, even towards the Thunder Bay general vicinity, as well as northern Wisconsin and areas towards northern Michigan. You guys could potentially get some heavier amounts of snow. And then, of course, areas over here in the Rockies, Utah, as well as into Colorado and Wyoming, you guys could get quite a lot. And then the mountain range of Oregon and Washington, you guys need to watch out for that. But otherwise, you guys are going to get a lot of precipitation, maybe some flash flooding across the board in some of those areas. And I would just watch out as that system moves on through. And speaking of that freezing rain, you can see the potential for it does exist here, especially as you get closer and closer towards areas like Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City, to where about an inch of freezing rain is expected at maximum, I'd say. I'd say maybe even about a half an inch of freezing rain is more plausible. So just something to watch out for. That is where the conditions of roads could probably start to really be kind of hazardous. Once you get to about the half-inch range, that's where things could really start to get really dangerous. So watch out for that if you guys can. So as this first storm moves off towards the north and east, our second storm starts to form here and digs through the central portion of the United States as well. So look at this as this pushes on through here. We get a bit of a spurt here from Wednesday into Thursday. A lot of freezing rain is possible across portions of central Oklahoma and towards northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. Areas near Springfield, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, maybe even areas near Dallas-Fort Worth. You guys need to watch out for the potential of some freezing rain possible within these areas, all right? Sometime from Wednesday night into Thursday could potentially be some significant amounts of freezing rain that can cause some power outages and hazardous road conditions as well. Maybe even some downed trees and power lines. And then from Thursday morning into Thursday night, another shot is possible over here of freezing rain over your area. Of course, you can also see some snow on top of that as well. And it's just going to continue to be that case here as it moves on through, even off towards the north and east. Much of Pennsylvania here, according to the Euro model, can get a lot of freezing rain. So some more hazardous conditions, and then our low pressure system continues to finally move off towards the north and east. Maybe could create some tropical storm force winds here across portions of Cape Cod as well. So watch out for that as that continues to move on through. Now, the potential for severe weather is possible with that event from Wednesday and Thursday into Friday. So we're going to want to take a look at the instantaneous flash rate, which basically takes a look at how many lightning strikes occur within a 6-hour time period. And let's take a look and see, well, we do have some activity over here towards portions of Arkansas into Louisiana and portions of Mississippi and Alabama. That'll kind of push on through into Tennessee. And then from Thursday into Friday, you can see that same exact thing kind of forms over these exact same areas here. I mean, they just had activity over here earlier on in the week, so potential flash flooding risk is possible across some of these areas. And that'll kind of just push on through. That'll be mainly it for the week in regards to some severe weather potential. But on the other hand, we can take a look at how much precipitation falls from this entire event here all the way up and towards next week. Look at this. Heavy amounts of rain and upwards of 8 to even 9 inches in localized spots. That is due for some flash flooding across the board, especially in localized areas. Could be even significant in some spots. So turn around, don't drown. Don't drive into flooded roadways because the actual floods appear a lot shallower than they actually are. And that's how you see the cars stuck in the open flooded roadways when you see them on the news, all right? People just kind of get fooled into thinking they can drive through and they can't. So it's just one of those things where you need to watch out, especially if you're here towards Monroe all the way over and towards central Mississippi, northern Alabama, into much of Tennessee and Kentucky. You guys could see some significant amounts of flash flooding possible within that general area. And then, of course, the threat for flash flooding is possible across portions of the Pacific Northwest as well. So here's our second shot of winter weather that'll move on through. You can see it's not as much of a snow threat for portions of the central to the Ohio River Valley. And it's not really all too significant in that regards. It's more towards the north and east to where people like New England could get some activity over there, and upwards of a foot of snow as possible. So it would just be something that you guys would need to watch out for. But the main threat here is going to be the freezing rain. All right, you can see the difference between the two different events. This is the first event over here. This one right here is the second one, and you can see how much more freezing rain is possible across much of these areas. You can see the maximum amount of freezing rain down at the bottom. It says over 1.5 inches of freezing rain is possible. You can see down here at the bottom right-hand corner, over 1.5 inches of freezing rain is possible across some of these areas, and you can see all the general vicinities that could be impacted from this, all right? Areas near Oklahoma City to Tulsa, Springfield, even St. Louis could get into the activity, even further off towards Indianapolis, maybe even Columbus could get into the activity. State College, Pennsylvania, up towards portions into New England. You guys can get some freezing rain within your general area, and you need to watch out, especially if you're in the southern portions of Missouri into Oklahoma. That is the heaviest concern, in my opinion, for some significant freezing rain that could be possible. So I'm not going to talk too much about that event in regards to how that is occurring. We're just going to show you the 500 millibar wind shear again. You can see this next big low pressure system, this big dip in the jet stream right within here that is going to move on through, and that's going to be the case for the most part for quite some time. As you can see, that low pressure system starts to intensify further and further. But then this is when things start to get really interesting. We see another low pressure system here, but we also see our ridge that is steering a lot of our low pressure systems towards the north and east actually fall out. It starts to move away here, and boom, as this next low pressure system moves on through sometime in the beginning of next week, we could be potentially talking about a winter storm for the northeastern portions of the United States. Somewhere over there, you guys could potentially be seeing some snow and even some freezing rain within your general vicinity. So something to watch out for. It's not set in stone right now, but because that high pressure system moves out of the way, we could anticipate some low pressure system to move on through and potentially create some winter activity, especially since a lot of that cold air is starting to be flown right in towards the backside of this low pressure system to create our winter weather event. But then, of course, you can also see how a high pressure system starts to move across the central portions of the United States, and we'll go right back to the pattern that we were originally at, which could mean that we could have an active start to severe weather season sometime in the beginning of March. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you did, please be sure to leave a like, as it does help me get this information out to more and more people on YouTube, essentially helping me spread the information. Also, please be sure to copy the link of this video and spread it with friends and family, and on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that, just to basically help me get the information out on there. Subscribe if you're new and turn on notifications, all right? As I said, I could be live streaming, could not be. Turn on notifications. You'll stay up to date regardless as to whether or not a video or a live stream will be up tomorrow night. And I will be also updating you guys all throughout severe weather season. I favor severe weather on this channel. And so if you guys want to stay up to date with all that, the threat for tornadoes in the future, there probably will be tornado outbreaks in the future. So if you want to stay up to date with when that could potentially move on through, then of course this channel is the way to go. As well as please be sure to follow me on social media. Link will be in the description down below. And I will catch you guys tomorrow night regardless. So peace out, everyone.